Some of us may not be knowing that Srila Prabhupada had a very close connection with Sri Vallabhācārya's Sampradaya. And there's a very close connection that Srila Prabhupada had with that particular Sampradaya, because I will show you a photograph and you might immediately recognize the personality in the photograph. Do you recognize who is the personality? Yeah, Sri Gandhiji, you know. But just next to Gandhiji is a lady. Dear devotees, can you recognize the lady? Perhaps you may recognize the lady when you see her in the second picture. Yeah. So she is Srimati Sumati Morarji, and this is her photograph on the left with Gandhiji. And we know another personality who was also very closely associated with Gandhiji's movement in his youth. Who was he? Srila Prabhupada. Dear devotees, Srimati Sumati Morarji, she was born in 1909 and she was married at the age of 13 years. And at the age of 14 years, she started taking up the business of her father of steam shipping company. So she started managing her father's business at the age of 14. And it was traditional Gujarati family. And by the time, by 1957, she was the first woman in the world to head the organization of ship owners. And in 1970, she was the vice president of the World Shipping Federation, dear devotees. So she had unlimited potential in this direction. And dear devotees, in 1950 she went to Kurukshetra, and in Kurukshetra, where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, she heard a Grihastha lecturing on the Bhagavad Gita. And she was immediately impressed, and this Grihastha was none other than Srila Prabhupada. So that was the first meeting that Sumati Morarji had with Srila Prabhupada. And from that time onwards, Srila Prabhupada noted down this particular contact. She said, I stay in Juhu, Mumbai. So if you ever want to see me, you come see me at Juhu, Mumbai. This is where my residence is. Srila Prabhupada had one desire in his mind. He wanted to go to the West somehow or other, and he didn't want a flight ticket. He wanted a ticket on a ship, the cheapest possible, because flight ticket was way out of the budget. If someone can give a ticket on a ship, that would be very nice. And Srila Prabhupada went to many of his friends and god brothers to ask for it. And they were willing to sponsor, many of them, but the sponsorship was with terms and conditions. So Srila Prabhupada used to recollect that he had gone to some of his god brothers and he had asked if Guru Maharaj's order has to be fulfilled, please if you can facilitate my journey and just give me a one-way ticket. Just give me a one-way ticket. And that too a ship ticket, not a flight ticket. So many of them were receptive, would say yes, but you please stay in the mutt and follow the rules, discipline of the mutt. After a few years we will see whether you can go. So Srila Prabhupada knew time was running out. So finally in Mumbai he approached Srimati Sumati Morarji, and she was a very bold lady. She told Swamiji, why are you going to die there? You will die there, don't go. But Prabhupada said, it is okay if I die there, I want to go. Just give me a one-way ticket. So she said, I will give you a return ticket. In case you change your mind after some time, you can come back. So she gave him a return ticket on the Jaladuta, and he went on the Jaladuta, and in the first year or the second year in the first year there was not much success in the United States. So Srila Prabhupada often said that I would often come to the shipyard, just thinking that I will head back now, it's enough, I am not able to tolerate. But again he would return back and say, one final effort I will give. And dear devotees, from there Prabhupada got success, and today all of us are here. So this particular lady, Sumati Morarji, was born in a Gujarati family. She once had a conversation with Srila Prabhupada, and she said something to him. Srila Prabhupada said, Scindia Steam Navigation Company carries Krishna consciousness movement to Western countries. Prabhupada is speaking to his disciples that this ship company carried Krishna consciousness to Western countries. And Sumati Morarji just next, in a room conversation, she said, yes, I know. And then Prabhupada is saying to his disciple, yes, she is a great devotee of Krishna. In her office there is Krishna. And Sumati Morarji said, everywhere there is Krishna. Then Prabhupada says, these Gujaratis, especially worship of Lord Krishna, they belong to Bharatiya, Indian community. And then he says, they are all Vaishnava. The whole, I have to say, Vishnu Swami Sampradaya or Vallabhācārya Sampradaya. And Sumati Morarji says, yes, Vallabhācārya. And then Srila Prabhupada says, their Guru. And Sumati Morarji says, Vallabhācārya is our Guru. So dear devotees, the first sponsorship for Krishna consciousness in the West was done by a person from the Sampradaya of Sri Vallabhācārya, not by a Gaudiya Vaishnava. It was not a Gaudiya Vaishnava who sponsored the ticket. The ticket was sponsored by a devotee of the Vallabhācārya Sampradaya. So we should always acknowledge this fact. And Prabhupada said, so they are originally all Vaishnava family, Bal Krishna. Baby Krishna they worship. They are worshippers of Bal Krishna, yes. So these dear devotees is Srila Prabhupada's connection with the Sampradaya of Sri Vallabhācārya, the followers of Sri Vallabhācārya, because Sumati Morarji, she was actually a follower of Pushti Marg, the Sampradaya of Sri Vallabhācārya. So this is ISKCON's little connection with the Sampradaya of Sri Vallabhācārya. We should always acknowledge this fact that somebody from that Sampradaya helped Srila Prabhupada get the first ticket to the Western world, and because of which all of us are present here. So she deserves definitely a lot of credit. She's a power lady, you can say, very powerful lady she was. And she was very bold, so bold that she said to Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, you are going to die there. That is the boldness she had. But Prabhupada still insisted and was successful. Dear devotees, the discussion on Sri Vallabhācārya's wisdom, patience and surrender yesterday, we saw the first aspect. And what is the first aspect? Wisdom, Vivek. And Sri Vallabhācārya says, what is Vivek? Vivek is firstly to understand that whatever Bhagavan will do, he will do according to whose sweet will? His own sweet will, not according to ours. Secondly, there is no point in trying to manipulate Bhagavan according to our material desires. Because even in the case of the Pandavas, Bhagavan could not be manipulated. The Pandavas' 5 sons died and Bhagavan did not protect them. But the grandson of the Pandava, when he was about to die, Bhagavan immediately rushed to protect him, Parikshit. Bhagavan's desires are known only to Bhagavan. We should not try to manipulate his desires, but we should only pray to Bhagavan for Bhagavan's pleasure, not for any material desires. Dear devotees, Sri Vallabhācārya also said that if Bhagavan doesn't work according to our desires, we should never become unfavorable and leave the path. So that he specified yesterday. And dear devotees, he said that was wisdom. And then moving ahead, we have to learn the second quality. What is the second quality? Patience, dhairya. So let's learn the second quality from the teachings of Sri Vallabhācārya. Kindly repeat after me. Tridukha sahanam dhairyam Amritehe sarvatah sada Takravad dehavat bhavyam Jadavad gopa bharyavad Dhairyam. Now let's define what is patience. Sri Vallabhācārya says, Tri dukkha sahanam dhairyam. To tolerate threefold miseries. Dear devotees, what are the threefold miseries? Can anybody give me the technical names? Adi, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik. So Adi Daivik is distress given by higher agencies. Adi Bhautik, distress given by other living entities. Adhyatmik, distress given by our own mind. Tri dukkha sahanam dhairyam. To tolerate these three miseries constantly, till what point of time? Amritehe, till mrityu. What is mrityu, dear devotees? Death. Till mrityu, till death is known as dhairya. And how should one tolerate? Dehavad. Anyone who has attained the gross body should tolerate these three miseries. What are the three miseries? Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik. By keeping three examples in the mind. Takravad, Jadavat, Gopa Bharyavat. Takravad means first is the misery coming from higher agencies. This should be tolerated by remembering the example of the lady who was selling buttermilk. Now dear devotees, there is a big purport to this. The lady who was selling buttermilk teaches us how to tolerate miseries coming from higher agencies. Would you like to hear a story? Alright. So there is a story behind this. Dear devotees, at one point of time in Ujjain there was a king, and the king had a queen, but this queen was not of good character. This queen fell in love with a low class person, and the king was keeping his trust on her that she loves him, but the queen was in love with someone else. One day this low class person told the queen, why don't we do one thing? Why don't you, if possible, why don't you kill him and get out of this and we will run away. Because I've had enough, I can't stay without you. So let's do away with him and we'll run away. So that particular day, the queen told him, it's alright, I will mix poison in the king's food. And after that, I will take whatever jewelry is with me and I will come to meet you outside the city. Wait for me outside the city because I will no longer be able to stay here after the king is dead. So wait for me outside the city. He said, alright. So she mixed poison in the king's food. The king died. She took whatever possible jewelry there was and she came to meet him outside the city by the time it was evening. Dear devotees, due to some reversal of fortune, that her lover also died due to a snake bite. So she is outside the city and the lover is also dead. Now what can she do? Go back? No. So she ran into the forest. When she ran into the forest, the next day some dacoits caught her and they saw that she has so much jewelry and beautiful looking queen. So beautiful jewelry and good looking queen. So they took all her jewelry and they physically abused her, exploited her and sold her into prostitution. After she was sold into prostitution, she stayed like that for many years. Back in the kingdom, her son, little son, was growing up. And many years passed like this, 15 or 16 years passed, and she had become a prostitute in some other city, and this son was growing up. One fine day, a customer came to her, and the customer was young, and after she satisfied the customer, she looked at the customer and asked him, "You look familiar, who are you?" So then he said, I am the prince of that kingdom. So this is the biggest shock of her life. So then she decided, I should commit suicide. So she went to the nearby crematorium where somebody was being set on fire. When all the relatives of that person went away, she decided to jump into that fire. When she jumped into that fire, she was unable to tolerate that heat. She said, I am not able to tolerate. She escaped from there and ran away like a mad woman to another village, and that was a village of cowherds. In that village of cowherds, as an old lady, she arrived and she settled there somehow, and the cowherds gave her shelter. And after a few years, she started selling buttermilk with them. So one fine day, all the cowherd women, they were carrying buttermilk, and suddenly one cowherd lady fell down, slipped and fell, and she fell on the other lady, and all the ladies fell and the pots broke. So all the cowherd ladies started crying that today we lost everything. And she was the only one laughing. So they said, why are you laughing? He said, my time of crying is over. I have seen so much in life. I killed my own husband. My lover was dead. And then I was exploited by the dacoits. And later I became a prostitute. And then my own son became my customer. I have suffered all this. This is nothing in front of what you are experiencing. I hope you are able to understand. So dear devotees, the jiva is like that. We may not remember, but there are unlimited horrors we have suffered in previous lives. We don't remember right now. So always remember this, that there is, always keep this spirit of detachment that she had. A general feeling of disgust with the material world. And always remember that Adi Daivik, misery is coming from higher sources, should be tolerated like this, knowing that the world is not a good place and already there is everything is horrible in the world. This is how one should tolerate such miseries. Then is Adi Bhautik, misery is given by other living entities, should be tolerated Jadavat, like Jad Bharat. And Jad Bharat was such that he decided to keep quiet for his entire life, although he was fully realized in the absolute truth. He decided to keep quiet. And he kept quiet till the point where the dacoits came and wanted to slaughter him in front of Bhadrakali for offering him, as an offering unto her. So dear devotees, always remember the example of Jad Bharat, that misery is coming from other living entities should also be tolerated by remembering this example. And why did Jad Bharat tolerate all of these miseries? The reason why he tolerated them is because he did not want to increase his karmic reaction at all. Even while walking on the path, he would walk in such a way that he would avoid the ants. This was Jad Bharat. Dear devotees, it is mentioned in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is how Jad Bharat used to behave. So that is Adi Bhautik, misery is coming from other living entities. And third is Adhyatmik, misery is coming from one's own mind. Should be tolerated like Gopa Bharyavat, like the gopis, because it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when even Bhagavan played on his flute and they wanted to escape from their home, were all the gopis able to escape their home? And there was immense trouble given to them by their own minds, dear devotees. Immense trouble given to them by their own minds, because there is nothing worse than being rejected by Bhagavan. Nothing worse than being rejected by Bhagavan. Even those who could escape, when they came in front of Krishna, Krishna did not immediately say welcome. let's start Rasa Leela. No. What is the first statement that Krishna told them? Yeah. Why? Rajani Esha Ghora, dark night, all of you are alone, good ladies. Why have you come? So dear devotees, Bhagavan also in the first attempt rejected them, asked them to go back, and it is immense, mental distress. Of course, this distress is not material at all, but Sri Vallabhācārya says, even if you experience a distress of this level, always remember that the gopis tolerated because they had prema, genuine love for Shri Krishna. So this is what he is trying to say. Moving ahead, Sri Vallabhācārya says, now you are tolerating distress, but a question might arise. If it is possible to mitigate some distress easily, should we try to mitigate it or not? So the answer will be given by Sri Vallabhācārya. Because somebody may suffer due to some disease, fever, and somebody may say, yeah, Sri Vallabhācārya said you should tolerate like Jad Bharat, or you should tolerate like the queen who was selling buttermilk. So I'll not take any medicine. So is this what you want to say, Sri Vallabhācārya? So he specifies in the next verse. Please repeat after me. Pratikaro yadrichhatah siddhaschennagrahi bhavet bharyadinam tathanyesham asataschakramam sahet. Pratikaro yadrichhatah. If by the will of the Lord, yadrichhatah, pratikaro, a remedy for a misery is possible, then siddhasche na agrahi bhavet. One should not be falsely proud and think, no, I will continue to suffer.
I'm not the body.
Yeah, I am not the body. One should not stubbornly continue to suffer if a remedy is easily possible. Alright? But even after remedies, if you are continuing to suffer, then one should tolerate like specified in the previous verse. Sometimes miseries come from the nearmost and dearmost ones in our lives. Sri Vallabhācārya says, Bharyadinam. Sometimes the greatest miseries will come from one's own spouse or one's own family. In the commentary, the commentators say, miseries such as speaking harshly, all the way up to even if the wife kicks the husband in the head. That is what is mentioned. All the way up to this. It's spoken from a man's point of view, because generally a man is physically stronger, so the man is expected to be more tolerant. Yes, dear devotees. So the example is given that even if the wife kicks you in the head, sahet, tolerate. And some of us may find it funny, but actually those who go through it on a day-to-day basis, they understand what is the difficulty of having an abusive spouse. Some men, because they are gentlemen, they don't retort, they don't reply back. Also because some of them have the fear of law, that if I do something in return, the law will be against me. But even if the law were not against you, Sri Vallabhācārya says, because you are a Vaishnava, understand something, you are a Vaishnava. Tattenu kampam susamikshramano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvagva purbhir vidadhan namaste jivet yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. Tattenu kampam susamikshramano. When Bhagavan is giving such miseries, then understand that it is for our own detachment, our own purification. There is no other reason. Oh, everybody else got a good spouse, look at me. Why do I have to suffer like this?
Only it happens to me.
Yeah, it's only happening to me, Look at his wife, she is treating him so nicely. Look at his wife, she listens to him. And look at my wife, So, if you complain like this, then you are not exactly living like a Vaishnava. Yatha dhenu sahasreshu vatso vindati mataram tatha purvakritam karma kartaram anugacchati. Remember this principle. Amongst a million cows, a calf can locate her mother. Similarly, karma locates the intended recipient amongst millions of people. Please remember this. So, sometimes we are suffering, we don't know what we have done in the past. We don't know what we have done. Therefore, remember the example of Jad Bharat. Because if you reply back, then you are increasing your own entanglement in the world. As far as possible, try to tolerate the insults even of the near and dear ones. Alright, so this, dear devotees, is dhairya, patience. Dhairya, patience. I will take sannyas. I will go out of my home. So Sri Vallabhācārya wrote another composition, Sannyas Nirnay. So maybe some other time we can discuss Sannyas Nirnay. Why should you take sannyas? And he said, if you want to take sannyas because your family members are materialistic and troublesome, then what sort of people are you going to meet in the world outside after taking sannyas? Please tell me.
They will all love you.
Look at Avanti Brahman in the 11th canto. What sort of people did he meet in the world outside? Bhagavan will ensure that you meet the same type of people who will give you the same residual karma that you were supposed to receive from your family members. Now you decide whether you want to receive your residual karma from family members or from the members of the outside society. So, make your choice. So, dear devotees, Avanti Brahman had earned a lot of negative karma in his householder days. And it was his good fortune that it came back to him in that very life. So, at least he could remember what I have done in this life is coming back to me in this very life. With us, we don't remember what we have done. So, sometimes, bharyadinam tathanyasham asatas chakramam sahet. Sometimes, unfortunately, one falls in a relationship with a spouse who is not faithful to them. Please try to understand this, who is not faithful to them. And this is one of the worst distress that one can undergo in married life. And dear devotees, when such distresses arise, dear devotees, one should not, now I will take revenge. I will also show you that I can cheat outside marriage. I hope you are able to understand. Some people have this revengeful mindset. Dear devotees, do not have a revengeful mindset. Sri Vallabhācārya says, if staying at home is more unfavorable than leaving it, then you may consider leaving it. But if staying at home is not as unfavorable as leaving it, then please continue to tolerate. Because we are receiving some reactions which are meant for our purification. No individual becomes mature without suffering. Please try to understand. There is no maturity in life without suffering. You cannot mature in life when we are in our comfort bubble. Maturity is the result of undergoing some suffering in life. So whenever suffering comes, it will go by giving the sweet gift of maturity. That is what it is, dear devotees. So please try to understand this. Next. Swayam indriya karyani kaya vang manasa tyajet ashurena bikartavyam swasya samarthya bhavana. Swayam indriya karyani. Swayam means by yourself. Indriya karyani, sense enjoyment. Kaya vang manasa tyajet. Try to give up sense enjoyment, illicit sense enjoyment by your own volition. Try to give up all forms of sense enjoyment, especially illicit sense enjoyment, by your own volition. And somebody may say, I am ashura. Ashura means I am not strong enough. Shura means strong. Ashura means I am not strong to quit sense enjoyment. Ashurena api kartavyam. Even the weak ones must try their best in this life to give up sense enjoyment. Please don't make a license out of sense enjoyment. Because I am weak, because I was born in this part of the world where there is so much sense enjoyment, I cannot give it up. No. One time, there was one devotee, and they spoke something very harshly to me. And I said, oh, no problem, just move ahead in life. Like my Guru Maharaj told me one thing in Hindi, ISKCON se suno, ISKCON se nikalo, or ISKCON mein raho. ISKCON means this year, hear from this year, and ISKCON means this year, remove from this year. So ISKCON, hear from ISKCON, remove from ISKCON, but stay in ISKCON. That is what he told me. So this is what my Guru Maharaj told me. So my practice is like this. So after some time they realized, because when somebody speaks harshly, the weight of their own guilt starts pressurizing their heart. And you just say nothing. So then they came to me and said, sorry, I am a New Yorker. So I didn't know what is. So sorry, I am a New Yorker. So my mannerisms are like that. So I said, you are saying as if it is a big decoration on you, that I am a New Yorker. So people justify their negative behavior by various excuses. So usually I would not have replied to that Vaishnava, but I said, you may be New Yorker, but I am also from Maharashtra, from the western part of India. And we come from that part of India where those who are Brahmanas, we took up the role of Kshatriyas and we reclaimed entire India from the Mughals. That is our history. We always walk with a sword in our hand. That is who the Marathas are, basically. That is who we are. But I am not living up to my family reputation right now, because I have taken to the path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, family may give us many samskars. Birth may give us many samskars. But it is up to us to reform ourselves and align with the path of Sri Rupa Goswami and the 6 Goswamis. So, ISKCON is a place where the whole world can come and live, provided they give up their cultural negativities. Otherwise, it will be a big problem. You bring all of your cultural positivity, but leave outside all the cultural negativity. Otherwise, it will be a big problem. There are many positive things in all cultures. So you bring all of that with you to ISKCON, but leave all of the negativities of the culture. And then it will be a very good place to stay. So, Ashurena pi kartavyam. Even the weak-hearted ones should try their best. And what should they think? Swasya asamarthya bhavanat. They should meditate on their misfortune. Bhagavan, I am sorry, I am not able to tolerate, but please help me. And they should still endeavor to tolerate sense enjoyment or the tendency for sense gratification. So this is what he says, by endeavoring through one's body, words and mind, one should give up sense gratification. Even the weak ones who are unable to control their senses should meditate on their misfortune and endeavor to tolerate. Dear devotees, somebody may say, if finally I am not able to tolerate and I give in to sense enjoyment, Sri Vallabhācārya, what about that situation? Because some may not be able to tolerate the pangs of sense enjoyment and they may not become strong Vaishnavas throughout their life. What can they do? So Sri Vallabhācārya replies for them. Ashakye harirevasti sarvamasrayato bhavet etat sahanamatroktam ashrayoto nirupyate. Ashakya, when it is impossible to control the senses and one is unable to maintain dhairya, patience. Harir evasti sarvam. Take to the final quality. What is the final quality? Ashraya, surrender. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. That's it. So dear devotees, etat sahanam. Now Sri Vallabhācārya says, in this way I describe dhairya. Finally, now I will describe Ashraya. Dear devotees, finally, if a devotee tried their best and they were unable to control their senses and they fell victim to sense gratification. I was speaking to, he was sitting here and he asked about Sri Jiva Goswami and what does Sri Jiva Goswami say when, dushkarma or unwholesome activities of the devotee, come to light. And I gave the example of smoking a cigarette, and then there was the whole thing of Arop Siddha Bhakti, how the devotee surrenders to Bhagavan and says, Bhagavan, whatever attachment I have to this activity, let me get that same attachment towards your lotus feet. And then Sri Jiva Goswami quotes the verse, Yuvatinam yatha yoni, as the minds of young men are attached to young women, and as the minds of young women are attached to young men, let my mind be similarly attached to you. So that same principle, if it is impossible, Sharanam Hari, Sri Krishna, Sharanam Mama, or Tavaivasmi, Tavaivasmi, Na Jivami, Tvaya Vina. So dear devotees, Tavaivasmi, yours I am, yours I am. I will not live without you. Bhagavan, howsoever I am, yours I am. This is shelter. Howsoever I am, yours I am. This is the final recourse of the devotee who is weak. But don't make a license out of weakness. Because there is a good tendency to make a license. You memorize a few verses. Yuvitinam yatha yoni, ya priti Viveka-dhairya-āśraya. And while performing karma kanda, the Brahmanas, how they speak verses. Like that you just quickly say it without feeling. Ya priti Viveka-dhairya-āśraya, visheshana payani. Tvam anusmarata sami hridayana pasarputu yuvitinam yatha yuni yunam cha yuvito yatha manobhiramate tadvan manobhiramtam tvai swaha. Chalo, let's begin our sense enjoyment. So that should not be. So the devotee should genuinely feel Bhagavan, a connection with Bhagavan. That there is something missing in my dhairya, my patience, that I am falling victim to sense gratification. But even if patience is lost, one thing should not be lost. What should not be lost? Ashraya. Surrender should not be lost. Wisdom may be lost, patience may be lost, but the most important quality should not be lost. Surrender, Ashraya should not be lost. Dear devotees, now let us understand what is Ashraya. And I had specified yesterday the small chant which is given in the Sampradaya of Sri Vallabhācārya for immediately surrendering to Sri Krishna. What was the small chant? Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. That Sri Krishna is my exclusive shelter. And in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, what is that? Tavai Vasmi, Tavai Vasmi. Yours I am, Bhagavan. So whichever Sampradaya you belong to, you can select, dear devotees, but the principle is the same. Ashraya, surrender. Now, dear devotees, before we take to Ashraya, I would like to ask you a question. What does Bhagavan think of the devotee who is unable to control their senses? Isn't it? How many of us want to know what Bhagavan thinks of the devotee who is unable to control their senses? I also want to. Let Bhagavan speak in his own words, dear devotees. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavan speaks his mind about devotees who are unable to control their senses. Please repeat after me. Bādhyamānopi madbhakto Vishayairajitendriyah Prayah pragalbhaya bhaktya Vishayairna vibhuyate. Uddhav, Bādhyamānopi madbhakto, even if my devotee is severely bound by Vishaya, sense enjoyment, and he is a Jitendriya, he is harassed by material desires, but still, Prayah, in most cases, it happens that Pragalbhaya Bhaktya, because he has unflinching devotion for me, Vishaya na vibhuyate, ultimately he will not be defeated by sense gratification. I consider such a person to be my devotee. because he is one pointed towards me. Now please tell me, dear devotees, if a devotee is engaging in sense gratification, how can the devotee be one pointed? Isn't it? This is the BBT translation. And the BBT translation says, my dear Uddhav, if my devotee has not fully conquered his senses, he may be harassed by material desires, but because of his unflinching devotion for me, he will not be defeated by sense gratification. There is a contradiction in the verse, because our standard understanding is that if somebody is attached to material desires and falling a victim to sense gratification, such a person is not an unflinching devotee. Then why is Bhagavan saying like this? Dear devotees, Bhagavan considers flinching or unflinching on the basis of ashraya. I hope you are able to understand that in times of difficulty, did you take shelter of him or did you not take shelter of him? That is what Sri Vallabhācārya was saying in the previous verse. That even if it is impossible to control sense desires, please take immediate shelter of Sri Krishna. And Bhagavan is seeing that, whether you took shelter of him in your difficult times. And if you took shelter of him in your difficult times, Bhagavan declares you to be which sort of a devotee? Unflinching. That is what unflinching bhakti is. So, dear devotees, now let's learn the most important quality, ashraya. Please repeat after me. Aihike paraloke cha sarvatha sharanam harihi dukkha hanau tatha pape bhaye kamadya purane. Aihike, in this world, paralokecha, and in the next world. In this world and in the next world. Sarvatha, in all ways. Sharanam Hari, who is my shelter? Sri Krishna is my only shelter. And especially one should remember this fact in various situations. Which situations? Dukkha hanau, when Bhagavan takes away our distress. Because it is easy to take shelter of Bhagavan when distress comes. Let's say today morning I was happy, I woke up happy, and suddenly in the morning there was a big quarrel with my spouse. Now, oh my goodness, early morning I was looking forward to a good day and my entire day is ruined. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I hope you are able to understand. Immediately I took shelter. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. And then suddenly after a few minutes she comes and says, oh, I'm sorry, my mood was not okay. What can I cook for you? Would you like to have some sweet? Are, what happened? No, nothing, I was disturbed. So please don't mind. Acha, okay, everything is okay. Yeah. Oh, wow, nice. I'm happy now. Dukkha hanau. So our distress was taken away. But at this moment we should become extra careful. When distress is taken away, at that moment also we should say, what should we say? Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Dear devotees, because even when Bhagavan you took away, still you are my shelter. Isn't it? Yeah. Kunti Maharani, she said, please send me distress after distress after distress. Because in distress we are able to easily say, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. But when distress is not there, we are a little afraid because this entire kingdom is there and we may forget to say Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. So please remember, whenever you become happy again after distress, please don't forget to take shelter of Bhagavan with the same devotional fervor. Tatha pape, and especially if some unwholesome activity occurs, immediately one must regret. And then one must say, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Dear devotees, please try to understand, one should not make a license out of this. Sometimes accidentally pap happens. What is the meaning of accidental? Accidental means, previous acharyas give the example, kalanja bhakshan. You were eating something which you were thinking is nice, accidentally you find that there is a piece of garlic or onion inside it and you have already consumed it. I hope you are able to understand. So, you ate something which was not supposed to be eaten. So, instead of regretting for the entire day, dear devotees, give up that food, close your eyes and say, Bhagwan, I am sorry, I could not, I did not know. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I hope you are able to understand. Sri Rupa Goswami is also going to say the same point in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. I will very quickly pull out Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu because Sri Rupa Goswami is going to make this same point in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. That Sri Vallabhācārya makes. Please repeat after me. Nishiddhāchārato daivar prayaschittam tu nochitam. Nishiddha achar, forbidden activity, if happens, daivat, by some misfortune. If you don't want to commit any forbidden activity, but by misfortune, unknowingly something happens. Prayaschit. Does anybody know what is the meaning of prayaschit? Atonement. What is the atonement? Prayaschittam tu na uchitam. There is no atonement. It is not required to separately seek out any atonement. The only atonement, dear devotees, is Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. That is the atonement, dear devotees. The same point that Sri Vallabhācārya is saying, Sri Rupa Goswami is saying in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.2.64. And iti Vaishnava Shastranam Rahasyam. This is the secret of Vaishnava Shastras. Don't tell it to non-Vaishnavas because they will misuse this. One who doesn't understand the value of Sharanagati, surrender, one who is not a Vaishnava, such people should not be told this. It is Rahasyam. Tad vidam matam. Only those who know Vaishnava Shastras know this secret. Dear devotees. So this is what Sri Rupa Goswami is saying also in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So tad vidam matam. So coming back to Sri Vallabhācārya's statement. And this is the bhaye. When any fear arises, dear devotees, immediately what should we say? Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I'll make you repeat this again and again so that we get used to it by the time the lecture ends. Alright? So dear devotees, bhaye, as soon as fear arises, because many devotees have this tendency for everything else, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and when fear arises, then Namaste Narsimhaya. I hope you are able to understand. So sometimes I joke when we're sitting in a car and the devotee besides me, one time he started singing Namaste Narsimhaya Prahlada. So that I said, Narsimhadev knows my devotee is sitting in the car right now. Because there is no other time when the devotee remembers Narsimhadev. So, we have sometimes we have turned Sri Narsimhadev into our insurance agent. That that for everything else, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and for my life insurance, Bhagavan Narsimhadev. So this tendency, it is okay to remember Bhagavan Narsimhadev for the protection of all the devotees. In the morning we do that. I hope you are able to understand. For protection of all the devotees, Srila Prabhupada instituted it. For the protection of the movement, we sing Narsimhadev Arati. But somehow we should also realize that when we are personally in danger, the traditional Gaudiya Vaishnava stance has been to take shelter of one's Ishtadev. Ishtadev, who is one's Ishtadev? Sri Krishna. So, the Gaudiya Vaishnava who is slightly more advanced, they will always take shelter of their Ishtadev, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, even in times of distress. And one should never think that, in this situation, Narsimhadev can protect me, but Krishna cannot protect me. That sort of a thought process one should not have. So one should immediately take shelter of Sri Krishna at that particular point of time. Kamadi apurane. And sometimes when one's personal desires are not fulfilled or religious activities are not fulfilled, especially when personal desires are not fulfilled, one should immediately take shelter of Sri Krishna. Because what happens? Sometimes you are visiting some place, you go to some devotee's home and you are expecting today he will feed me this, and because he said yesterday, Prabhu, I will cook this for you. and I am expecting, today. So Prabhu, I have come to your home. Prabhu, I am sorry. Last minute we had to change the menu. You changed the menu. What did you change into? Karela and bitter gourd. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I hope you are able to. So this is what he is trying to say. In all negative situations of life, please remember this principle of Sharanam. Immediately take shelter of Bhagavan. The same thing Sri Rupa Goswami is also going to say in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I will show you all the parallel verses in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is 15th limb of Bhakti. Please repeat. Alabdheva vinashteva bhakshachadana sadhane aviklabamatir bhutva harimeva dhiyasmaret. This is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Let me see if we have a translation by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. Even if a devotee is frustrated in attempt to eat properly or clothe himself properly, he should not allow this material failure to disturb his mind. Rather, he should use his intelligence to remember his master Lord Krishna and remain undisturbed. Same principle by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So if sometimes some desires are frustrated in the world, so don't immediately say that, I was expecting so much, but I am frustrated today. So this is what Sri Vallabhācārya says here. So, dear devotees, moving ahead, please repeat after me. Bhakta drohe bhaktya bhave bhaktaishchati krame krite ashakyeva sushakyeva sarvatha sharanam hari. Again, one should take shelter of Hari, especially Bhakta Drohe, when ill feelings for other devotees arise in our heart. Especially when ill feelings for other devotees arise in our heart. It is okay to be concerned for another devotee, but never become malicious towards another devotee. Some devotee may be in trouble and we may be concerned for them. That is alright, but to become maliciously disposed towards another devotee is not good at all. Whenever this arises in our heart, one should immediately take shelter and ask Bhagavan for forgiveness. And what should one say? Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. And Bhakti Abhave. Sometimes, in the evening we are feeling waves after waves of bhakti and we go to sleep with that wonderful mindset. And next morning we wake up, we feel washed out completely, We feel absolutely no bhakti at all in the morning. Yesterday I was in the Kirtan festival, we had a great time and I danced and I felt a lot of bhakti and this morning I woke up, I feel as if completely washed out. Bhakti abhave. One feels a lack of bhakti. At that time also one should take shelter of Sri Krishna. Or bhaktais cha atikrame grite. Also when other devotees offend us, one should immediately take shelter of Sri Krishna. I put it in practice when I met that particular Vaishnava whom I told, who later said, please excuse me, I am from New York. So, dear devotees, that time I had that knowledge because I had learned from the literature of Sri Vallabhācārya how to tolerate such situations. But previously I did not have this knowledge. When my first day in an ISKCON temple, I will tell you, this was my first day in an ISKCON temple. I just entered into an ISKCON temple and I had come from a good family and ISKCON temple, I was from a pious family. I entered ISKCON temple. I said, they are devotees of Lord Krishna, everyone will be good to me. So, I attended the program and after the program there was Prashadam. So I went for Prashadam. So after Prashadam, so there was everything, rice, dal. Back then the feasts were super awesome, rice, dal, everything, and there were rasgullas, and then at the end there was ice cream, kulfi. Kulfi. So I hope all of you know what is kulfi, So there was kulfi. So I ate everything, and after that I thought, let me go for second round of kulfi. So that was my mistake, dear devotees. So I went for second round and I asked Prabhu. So that devotee insulted me severely, and in Hindi language. Now in Hindi it sounds very harsh. So what he said in Hindi I will say, those who understand Hindi can understand. He said, तुम्हारे बाप का दुकान है यहाँ पे, ऐसा. So it is your father's shop I am opening here, that you are coming again to ask kulfi. So it loses that punch when I translate into English, But the punch is far greater in Hindi. तुम्हारे बाप का दुकान है, तुम वापस, again you came. And I was also in distress because just 1 year ago my father had passed away. So that day I decided I will never come back to an ISKCON temple again. This is what on the first day of my
At the moment, at the spur of the moment.
Yeah, spur of the moment. Because I have my self-respect. Why should I, come to a place where I am insulted like this? I told him, we are Brahmanas. You come to my home, I'll feed you double. Come to my home, I'll feed you twice the amount, and I will not bring your father in the discussion. So, but later another devotee pacified me and said, he is like that, don't worry. If you want, you ask me, I will give you. So then I understood that, there are workarounds in ISKCON. You can work your way around, and there are different types of devotees. So I learned some diplomacy on the first day, dear devotees, so bhakta is cha atikrame krite. When other devotees also offend us, we should have higher knowledge. We should not say anything. Because the person who offends, that person is the one who will later feel the load of guilt if they have a conscience. And if they don't have a conscience, Bhagavan will ensure that somehow or other in future they will receive what they have to receive. You don't have to do anything to pay back. You don't have to lift a single finger to pay it back to them. Just by their act of speaking harshly, they have set into chain a motion which will ensure that through the arrangement of the material energy, the universe will get back at them. Dear devotees. So you don't need to do anything separately. Ashakyeva sushakyeva, in any possible or impossible tasks. If you are going for any particular task in day-to-day life, don't forget to take shelter of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, whether it is possible or impossible. Moving ahead, dear devotees, please repeat after me. Ahankara krite chaiva poshya poshana rakshane poshya tikramane chaiva tathante vasyati krame. Don't forget to take shelter, especially when ahankara krite poshya poshana rakshane, when false ego arises, when you think, I am the master of the family, this person is surviving because I give him money, that person is surviving because I am giving him money, these people are dependent on me, if I don't give them money, how will they survive? They will be out on the streets. I hope you are able to understand. Nobody will be out on the streets if you don't give money. Bhagavan will give them money if you don't give it to them. Bhagavan is feeding 84 lakh species of life without your money, dear devotees. So Bhagavan will also feed that particular entity whom you think is dependent on you. And these 84 lakh species of life, 83,99,999 don't need a career in order to get their daily food. There is only one species which is worrying about a career to put their food on the table every day. Rest of them are being taken care of by Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Dear devotees, therefore, whenever ahankar, because there are some family members who are heads of family, they have this ahankar, false ego. I gave you so much, you are my son, you are not listening to me. So, if you are a Vaishnava, you will not behave like this. And in the society they say, I did this for my son, for my daughter I did this. My entire family loves me because, I am such a big, caretaker of the family. Like this. I hope you are able to understand. So this one should not, whenever false ego arises, immediately understand that Bhagavan is the shelter, not ourselves. Even when family members insult us, we should take shelter of Bhagavan. Or even if disciples insult us, actually one should be careful in accepting disciples. Very careful in accepting disciples, because you never know when a particular disciple will turn against you. And when disciples turn against you, they will put everything on the internet. Family members will not put it on the internet, but disciple, you can be 100% sure.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. 100% you can be sure that the disciple will put it on the internet. Therefore, accept a disciple only after careful consideration. For those who will perform the seva of being a guru, accept only after careful consideration. Otherwise, you don't know. Dear devotees, in the relationship between guru and disciple, the disciple has everything to gain spiritually, and the guru has negligible things to gain spiritually. Negligible things to gain spiritually. And the disciple has everything to gain spiritually. So the disciple should ensure that they don't become unfavorable. But the guru should also ensure that I check the disciple whether they are of proper frame of mind before they accept a particular disciple. Next. Alaukika manah siddhau sarvatha sharanam hari evam chitte sada bhavyam vacha cha parikirtaye. Alaukika manah siddhau, to make your mind completely transcendental in all disturbing situations, please follow what he has said. One should constantly take shelter of Sri Krishna. In all disturbing situations, you will become okay again, dear devotees. But if you forget this very one simple fact that I have to take shelter of Sri Krishna, and how do you take shelter of Sri Krishna? Sri Krishna Sharanam. So dear devotees, if you forget this very simple fact, at the moment when you need it, then you will again become disturbed by the material world. And therefore, chitte sada bhavyam, always in your heart continue to repeat this. And vacha cha parikirte, through your speech continue to repeat this. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Therefore you see the followers of the Sampradaya, everywhere they go, they will sing this. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. It is become like a mantra for them. Wherever they go, they will sing this. So this is what? Wherever you go, sing this and also feel it in your heart. Don't just do lip service. This is what he is trying to say. Dear devotees, and never take shelter of any other deity. Anyasya bhajanam tatra svato gamanam evacha prarthana karya matrepi tathanyatra vivarjaye. So, anyasya bhajanam, taking shelter of other deities. Yeah, when you go to other deities like Bhagavan Shiva, Devi, Durga, Ganesh, the many other Vedic deities, when you go in front of their temple, you should pay pranams. That's it. All you have to do is pay your pranams. Give respect to all the deities. But always you should say, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. My shelter is Sri Krishna, but I am giving pranams to all of you. Respect to everybody, but my shelter is Sri Krishna. Never disrespect anybody, dear devotees. Never disrespect any deity. Always give respect to all deities. But you should take exclusive shelter only of Sri Krishna. Prarthana, going to them for praying for material benefits, no, dear devotees, not at all. Vivarjayet, completely it should be avoided. Dear devotees, अविश्वासो न कर्तव्य सर्वथा बाधकस्तु सः ब्रह्मास्त्र चातकौ भाव्यौ प्राप्तं सेवेत निर्मम. Avishwaso na kartavya. At any point of time, do not become a disbeliever on the path of bhakti. Do not lose your shraddha on the path of bhakti. Sarvatha badhakas, because losing shraddha is losing bhakti. And always remember two examples. Brahmastra chatakau. One is the example of the Brahmastra, one is the example of the Chatak bird. Dear devotees, I will tell you quickly what is the example of Brahmastra. Please remember this example, because this example proves what happens when you lose your Shraddha. This is an incident from the Ramayana when Sri Hanuman went to Lanka and destroyed the entire Lanka. And Indrajit, Meghnad tried to capture Hanuman, and Indrajit finally captured Hanuman using one weapon. Which weapon was that? Brahmastra. And finally Hanuman, out of respect of Brahmastra, agreed to be caught by Brahmastra, and Hanuman was caught in Brahmastra and brought in front of the assembly. When Ravan looked at the Brahmastra appeared to be like ordinary rope. So Ravan said, "Big monkey, and you have tied him in ordinary rope. Bring big iron chains to bind him." So they bought big iron chains to bind Sri Hanuman. As soon as the iron chains were bought, Brahmastra understood that he has put a doubt on my capacity. Ravan doubts my capacity. So Brahmastra loosened its grip over Sri Hanuman. And was Hanuman going to be restrained by the iron shackles? Dear devotees, remember what happens when you lose your Shraddha. The bhakti may sometimes appear to be very ordinary, like the Brahmastra. But always keep your Shraddha. Always remember this example of the Brahmastra. So this is an example of what happens when you lose your Shraddha. And always remember the example of Chatak. Chatak is the only bird which doesn't drink water from any water reservoir. It only drinks rainfall water only when there is a particular constellation, Swati Nakshatra, in the sky. That is when the Chatak bird drinks water falling from the sky. It waits for the entire year for the rainy season and for that particular alignment to drink water directly from the cloud. So have Shraddha and have patience. Your rainy season will come, Shyam Sundar will be above you, and the proper nakshatra will come when you will be able to drink Shri Krishna Prem. Wait for that time patiently, dear devotees. This is Chatak bird. He is waiting for Bhagwan. The Chatak represents the Bhakta and the cloud is Bhagwan. And the proper time that Bhagwan has decided is the Swati Nakshatra. At that point, Bhagwan will give you Prem and drink from that. Don't go elsewhere. Alright? And remain detached meanwhile and serve Bhagwan. Now one or two more verses and we will finish, dear devotees. Yatha kathanchit karyani kuryaduccha vachanyapi kim va proktena bahudha sharanam bhavayet dharim. Yatha kathanchit karyani kuryat. Somehow or other, whatever things you are doing in the world, uchcha vachani, small things or big things, whatever, higher activities, lower activities, all of them should be done with the mood of Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Kim va proktena bahuda. What more is there to say? Nothing more to say. In all your activities, small activities also. I have to go collect something from the superstore. Alright. Small activity. What should one say immediately? Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Right? I hope you are able to understand. So this is small activities, big activity. Like this. Kim va proktena bahuda sharanam bhavaya dharim. What more is there to say? Always in this way take shelter of Hari. If you are Gaudiya Vaishnava, then you can also chant what Mahaprabhu asked us to chant. Please repeat. Tavai vasmi, tavai vasmi, tavai vasmi, tavai vasmi, na jivami tvaya vina. It's a little difficult, okay? Na jivami tvaya vina. So tavai vasmi, yours alone I am. Tavai vasmi, yours alone I am. Na jivami, I will not live. Tvaya vina, without you. This is our Gaudiya Vaishnava surrender. Alright? So you can remember. And it is in the form of a short verse. Please repeat. Tavai vasmi, tavai vasmi. Na jivami tvaya vina. Iti samsmritya Jivam sandharayamyaham. Alright, so I will not, remembering this again and again, I am holding to my life. That is the rest of the verse. But the essential part of the verse is the surrender. Alright, so please remember the essential part of the verse. Tavai vasmi, tavai vasmi. Na jivami tvaya vina. Alright, so this is yours I am, yours I am. I cannot live without you. What more is there to say? That is what it is. Alright? So whichever sampradaya you have shraddha in, so you can select accordingly, dear devotees. Final verse, dear devotees. Evam ashrayanam proktam sarvesham sarvadahitam kalau bhaktyadi margahi duhsadhya iti me mati. Evam ashrayanam proktam. In this way, Sri Vallabhācārya described the third principle, ashraya, which is sarvesham sarvada hitam, which is beneficial for everyone at all times. Why? What about other, ways of performing bhakti? Kalau bhaktyadi margahi dussadhya. Sadhan bhakti, Vaidhi bhakti is very difficult in Kali Yuga. This is my opinion. Sri Vallabhācārya says. It is very Vaidhi bhakti, to attain success in Vaidhi bhakti is very difficult in my opinion. You can execute Vaidhi bhakti, no problem. Continue to execute your acts of Vaidhi bhakti. But don't forget the most important principle. What is that? Tavai vasmi, na jivami tvaya vina. Alright? So dear devotees, don't forget this principle. Because some of you may slacken in your sadhan bhakti. And therefore it is said, bhakti is a very difficult path in the age of Kali Yuga. But let your ashraya, let your shelter of Bhagavan never be slackened. Iti me mati. This is my firm opinion, says Sri Vallabhācārya. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Yadatra skalitam kinchit vidvamsah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva menai. Yadatra skalitam kinchit, if there are any mistakes I made, vidvamsah, your learned devotees, purayantu tat. Please correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit, if there is anything nice, please remember, tad guroreva. I learned from my gurujanas. May nahi, it doesn't belong to me. Just nearby my home, just 5 minutes walking from my home, there is the Haveli. Haveli is the Pushti Marg temple, which I visit, sometimes I visit. Usually I go to our ISKCON temple, but once in a while I visit the Pushti Marg temple. So there is a very elderly lady there. Whenever she sees me, she calls me and says, sit down. And I say, why? You know some of the literature of Sri Vallabhācārya, so you speak to me. So all right. So one fine day I spoke to her, this Viveka-dhairya-āśraya. I spoke one by one all the verses and I explained. So she said, can I ask you something? I said, what? Why don't you consider taking initiation in Pushti Marg? So I said, I am already initiated in Pushti Marg. I am already initiated in Pushti Marg. So she said, how are you initiated in Pushti Marg? Then I showed her a verse from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. This is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Please repeat after me. Krishna tad bhakta karunya matra labhaika hetuka पुष्टि मार्गतया कैश्चित् यम रागानुगोच्यते. This is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.309. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Krishna tad bhakta karunya matra labhaika hetuka. That path which is dependent exclusively on receiving the mercy of Sri Krishna or the mercy of his eternal associate. That path which I call as Raganuga Bhakti, which Rupa Goswami calls as which Bhakti? Raganuga Bhakti. Kaishchit, some other Vaishnavas call it as which mark? Pushti mark. So I am already initiated on Pushti mark because I am initiated on the path of Raganuga Bhakti. Dear devotees. So, Gaudiya Vaishnavism means to be initiated on Raganuga Bhakti, and Sri Rupa Goswami himself has acknowledged in this verse that another name of Raganuga Bhakti is which mark? Pushti mark. So, this is what Sri Vallabhācārya's path is. Always take exclusive shelter of Sri Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. So, Prabhu, we have time for Q&A, or is it late?
Can take 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Alright. If somebody wants to ask a query or some comment, yeah, we'll go to her first, then we'll go to Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the katha. Nourishing as always. I had a question about Adi Devika. So the example of the woman who sells network was a nice example to see how higher agencies are influencing her life experiences, and so I had this impression that one could also see it as just karmic reactions. And so how is the karmic reaction more powerful than the devatas, or are the devatas deciding how strong the karmic reaction will be?
The devatas are agents for dispensing karmic reaction. But she had some karmic reactions, but the devatas arranged things in such a way that her lover had to die on the same day. So collective karma was involved. Her lover was also supposed to die on that same day. So the devatas brought 2 plus 2 together. And so she has to receive a severely negative reaction. This person also has to die. So 2 plus 2 equal to 4. And so then the devatas arranged all of these things in such a way that in a few years she receives all the cumulative reactions from her past. But it was all arranged by the devatas, otherwise she would have continued to suffer in many future lives. In one life it got over with. So that is how, devatas arrange something sometimes for us. And sometimes the devatas don't want the devotee to progress. That is also a fact. Sometimes the devatas do not want the devotees to progress. Recently I had given a talk in which I had spoken of a praman. Let me see if I have that praman with me. The devatas, yes, here it is. This is from Brihadaranyak Vartik Sar. Tasmad esham tanna priyam yan manushya vijanate brahmatvatma mato deva pratibadhanti bodhajam. When somebody tries to advance too fast on their path of spirituality, sometimes the devatas put obstacles on the path. You try to understand, because humans are like domestic animals for the devatas. Like we see cows and bulls, and let's say some cow or bull suddenly tries conversing in English and says, I wish to have equal citizenship with you. The humans will become alarmed and terrified, my goodness, And if the entirety of the cows or bulls or, sheep, they try to do that, and there will be some big problem in the human society. So if some person not only becomes enlightened themselves but also tries to influence many other people, the devatas, this person, he is a troublemaker. So they try to put such a person down. They may introduce some klesh, they may introduce some misery, but that person should also have a devotee of the caliber of Sri Vallabhācārya with them. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, then he has the perfect response. I will deal with all these problems created by the devatas. So that's Prithu Maharaj also 100 Ashwamedh Yagyas he wanted to, and Indra immediately, because he will be elevated. So Indra was not happy with that. So he tried to put so many obstacles. Prithu Maharaj could have counteracted them, but Bhagavan came and said, stop. What do you want? To have the satisfaction of completing 100 sacrifices, or to have the satisfaction of being my pure devotee? So Prithu Maharaj stopped at how many sacrifices? 99. And that 99 is much greater than 100. Dear devotees. Right? Okay. Yes. Prabhu. Yes, you wanted to say?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this wonderful katha. When I hear these teachings of Vallabhācārya, could I say that these teachings can be summarized in the third verse of the CEST? Trinadapi Sunichena? Is that?
Yeah. Third verse.
Yes.
Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadhari. Prabhu, please come, Prabhu. Welcome. The assembly will be blessed by your presence. But thank you, Prabhu, for being here. So yeah, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna. That verse is the state of mind of an ideal devotee, that they are lower than the blade of grass. Now, what can be lower than the blade of grass? And why lower than? There is a big secret behind that. Because when you step on grass and when you lift your foot, the grass again rises up. But the devotee doesn't rise up, once somebody steps, they accept it as it is. Tattenu kampam susamikshamanu hridvag vapurvi vidadhan namaste. The devotee remains down. Namaste jivet. The devotee doesn't plan to materially rise again. So the devotee is even humbler than the blade of grass. That is the secret behind the verse. But that verse, and also Ashlishya padaratam pinashtumam adarshanan marmahatam karotuvam. Adarshanan, Bhagavan may decide not to appear in front of me and break my heart. Yatha tathava, whatever he decides. Mat prananathastu sa eva. He alone is my shelter, na apara. Nobody else. So many verses are there like that in the CEST. But especially the third verse, Trinadapi Sunichena. Alright, thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else? Yes, Purnamasi Mataji, and then.
Thank you for the class. I have a question about Adi Bhautika. When we live outside and we have contact with people who give us trouble, but sometimes I question myself, is there a lesson to learn to react on this? And especially when we have when our duty is that we protect someone.
Yeah, when we are entrusted with a duty that we have to protect someone, and if somebody is attacking that person,
Us?
Or
He's attacking us, and then we have to protect, so we have to say something.
yeah, we can see if it is possible to do some, if it's possible to have some remedy, like Sri Vallabhācārya says, easily, without offending somebody, then you can try to have some remedy. But if the only remedy is constant offense, then we have to rethink about it. So we'll need to, I don't know the detail of the situation, but from what I can understand, that if a particular devotee has someone to protect, and but somebody is attacking that devotee, and because of somebody is attacking that devotee, it is also going to affect that person whom the devotee is protecting. So then the devotee should either stay away from such a person who is attacking.
There is no possibility to stay.
If there is no possibility to stay away from such a person who is attacking, then one should understand that sometimes, tolerating, or sometimes saying, okay, okay. I hope you are able to understand. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is that okay man. Somebody comes in the morning and speaks some negative things to us. Okay. It's okay. So that is, in the Bhagavatam there is that okay man. Neither yes man nor no man. So 7.14.6 Gyatayah pitarau putra bhratarah suhrido pare yad vadanti yadichanti chanumodeta nirmamaha. So translation by Srila Prabhupada. Intelligent man should make his own program of activities very simple. If there are suggestions, criticisms, etc. from family, friends, children, parents, brothers, etc. So, like when I was new to the society, I went to a wedding party and they had served many things. There was onion and garlic. My relative came and said, why are you not eating? As Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita that you should not eat onion and garlic. So, what to say, So I was a very new devotee that time. I could not say anything. I was hurt, so I went home and I did some research and I found out that in the Manusmriti there is a verse, Lashunam Grinjanam Chaiva Palandum Kavakanicha Abhakshani Dijatinam Amedya Prabhanicha. Next time I met him and I told him, you don't understand that Lashunam Grinjanam Chaiva, onions, garlics, mushrooms and everything growing from foul substances should never be eaten. So my relationship broke with that relative. Instead, what I should have said was, after he would have said, why do you not eat onion garlic? Has Krishna said that you should not eat? I should say, okay, it's okay. That's okay. You eat. I hope you are able to understand. Neither say yes nor say no. Narad Muni says the intelligent person, what should they say? Okay. And okay, in such a way, there is a way of saying okay. The way of saying okay is, okay, move ahead, like that. Okay, like this, okay, let's move ahead. So like this, you avoid the situation and there is some temporary disturbance of mind. But avoid the situation, move ahead, like this. Okay. I have one phone call, right? Okay, like this. So this is how you avoid such situations. But if they are constantly pestering you, then you have to, maybe once in a while, you can give one reply, but that reply should be good enough.
You can tell them that I have an appointment.
The way they're only give
If they have a conscience, then if they have a
feeling that they don't have,
then Bhagwan's stick is going to do the justice. I hope you are able to understand. And when Bhagwan's stick strikes, it doesn't make a sound. The person feels everything, it doesn't make a sound. So Bhagwan's stick will do swift justice in the near future for such a person. You will not have to do anything. Without lifting a single finger, everything will be arranged. But you should not pray for their suffering. You should just pray that Bhagwan, let me be peacefully situated in my bhajan. I take shelter of you. That's all. I understand sometimes some situations, some individuals in life are toxic in nature. But there are ways and methods of dealing with such people. And Bhagwan has put us in such a situation for a reason. Never in our life will we behave like this with anybody else, because we know what it is to suffer under such a person. We know what it is. Nal, Kuber and Manigriv, they were intoxicated with wealth. So much so that they were taking bath in Alagnanda, which is Ganga. The only river meant for the sadhus, and they could have taken bath anywhere in the heavenly planets, but they chose to take bath in the Ganga. And that too near Kailash, where many sadhus visit. Narad Muni came, the ladies at least covered themselves up out of shame. And these two boys, Nal, Kuber and Manigriv, they were so shameless, they got up like that naked and Hari Bol, Narad Muni, how are you? So Narad Muni said, Acha? They are rising up naked, and these people have become intoxicated. The only way to cure this behavior is if I put them into suffering, and only after suffering will they understand how other living entities suffer. So when Bhagwan has put us into suffering, it is because we become empathetic to the suffering of other people only after we suffer. Otherwise, everything in the world is nice for us if we don't suffer. The world is going good and great and everything is gaga if there is no suffering in our life. But if there is suffering, it makes us empathetic to the suffering of other people, and that is a very big gift for a Vaishnava to have, the gift of empathy. And that gift only comes after a person goes through some suffering. No maturity is attained without suffering. No maturity in life is attained without suffering. One has to go through some suffering in material life in order to attain maturity. And that person whom you are referring to may not be having that maturity. They may not be able to see what their actions are going to bring them. But at least Bhagavan is gifting you with the maturity that you will not behave like this with anybody else in the future. So take that gift of maturity and use it to improve your relationship with the Vaishnavas and move ahead in life. And if possible, to avoid that person, okay, theek hai, chalo, like this, Like my Guru Maharaj used to say, after some disciple would come and after 5 minutes they start crying about their married life, Oh Guru Maharaj, my wife said this. Acha, okay, take this sweet, chalo, so like this. So in this way, okay? Because what happens when people turn gurus into marriage counselors? So that should not happen. Alright, chalo, theek hai, we'll pause here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhu ki
Ananta